largest militia group in the US will refuse to recognize President-elect Joe Biden as the nation's duly elected leader when he's sworn in on 20th January 2021. The Oath Keepers, an armed right-wing organization that boasts tens of thousands of members with law enforcement and military backgrounds, was one of several groups to demonstrate in Washington over the weekend at the Million MAGA March in support of Donald Trump, whom news networks project has lost the 2020 election. Says, I think about how this country won't recognize Biden as legitimate. They won't recognize this election. Stuart Rhodes, who founded the Oath Keepers, told The Independent on Saturday in the nation's capital. What that means is that everything comes out of his mouth will be considered not of any force or effect. Anything he signs into law we won't recognize as legitimate. We will be very much like the founding fathers. We will end up nullifying and resisting, Mr. Rose said. Thousands of Trump supporters, including numbers of far-right groups such as the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, and the Oath Keepers, as well as ordinary American citizens, participated in the march, which was pervaded by a sense that the 2020 election was stolen from Mr. Trump. Despite filing several lawsuits in key swing states, the Trump campaign has not provided any evidence of substantial voter fraud that would have swung any of them in his favor. The president has persisted in his baseless accusations of a stolen election and rampant voter fraud, despite no evidence existing to support those claims. The way the president told it on his Twitter account on Sunday, Mr. Biden only won in the eyes of the fake news media. Mr. Trump added, I concede nothing. We have a long way to go. This was a rigged election. Within few minutes, Twitter had flagged the tweet with a line that reads, this claim about election fraud is disputed. Twitter has flagged dozens of Mr. Trump's tweets since the election for spouting conspiracy theories about the election. Despite the efforts of the tech companies such as Twitter and Facebook to curb misinformation from spreading on their platforms, the Trump campaign's rhetoric has had a noticeable effect on Republican voters' trust in the electoral process. At the march in Washington over the weekend, attendees gave varying theories to the Independent about how the election was stolen from Mr. Trump, from a broad nationwide conspiracy to mass low-level fraud. Several shared already debunked purported stories of voter fraud. Most people at the march appeared unaware of the basic mechanics of the pandemic-era electoral process. Due to the virus, Democrats voted overwhelmingly by mail and thus were always going to fall behind in early counting in key states as in-person votes are tallied first. That news does not seem to have reached everyone. So when Mr. Trump's early lead was erased, the president claimed foul play and they took him at his word. The Oath Keepers predate Mr. Trump's political ascendancy, but his brash and tribalistic brand of politics has given them greater prominence in media coverage over the course of his administration. The Anti-Defamation League has described the Oath Keepers as a heavily armed extremist with a conspiratorial and anti-government mindset looking for potential showdowns with the government. The group had projected a robust presence at several key moments of racial crisis in America. In 2014 and 2015, armed members of the group patrolled the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, and after the police shooting of Michael Brown and the subsequent riots and demonstrations, anti-government conspiracy theories have always been a central part of Oath Keepers' ethos, experts have written. Mr. Rhodes, its founder, is a former staffer to GOP congregation Ron Paul of Texas, the SY perennial presidential candidate. Mr. Rhodes is a graduate of Yale Law School, the alma mater of 3 of the 7 justices currently serving on the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, so they still have militia there. Okay, we are watching, we are looking at the whole thing. I think the best thing Trump needs to do is just to go to court straight up and let court decide this whole thing. Well, they are trying to console Trump after eating his money. How can the election be a fraud? It's true Trump hasn't shown the instances how there was fraud, but how and through what means could there be fraud? We look at civil war then. America has lost its moral right as a democratic nation because of Trump. How can allegations be baseless when the courts are not ready to hear them? It is the judiciary that is heating things up. Why keep on throwing cases out? Because there is no evidence. Okay. Fake news. Trump is the one mobilizing criminals to cause chaos in America. It should be dealt with. Do we have militia in America? Which states? Okay. Texas. Okay. Heading towards USSR disintegration style. Bible prophecy must come to pass. Nothing can stop it. Shame on the so-called father of democracy. You don't steal votes and have peace by turning to African way of election. America will suffer what Africans are suffering. Mark my words. Where was this group when Biden defeated Trump? Okay. What goes around comes around. Democrats didn't recognize Trump as president for his first term of office. They even tried to impeach him. Now some of you are crying. You reap just what you sow. There's no way you will convince that Biden won. Let him test what it means to be rejected. These are a bunch of sick people in the head like Trump. If they were black Americans, the police would have killed more than 20 already. Like, seriously? I thought it is in Africa and other third world countries we have sit tight S of government until now that Trump has fallen so much in love of power that she's not ready to relinquish power to Biden. I guess America and the Western nations taught Africa all the bad practices common to them. Wow. They are toothless dogs. They will soon get fed up and get tired. No militia in America. Trump will soon be left alone and be deserted. And also, okay, these are racist according to what someone says here. But people of America voted. It is a decisive and proper protocol. Give me a break. Didn't the so-called white cop be so naive to be having such hack? You wasting time. 20th of January, we inaugurate Joe Biden, and hell be telling you to do what? Hell be the law of the country. Is chosen by the majority. Racist him and his orders is backed by heavy security from army to be bodyguard. Yes, don't recognize him. After all, the Democrats did the same to Trump. During Trump tenure, Democrats did everything to discredit him, right from inaugural protests to hacking to impeachment to BLM and now to COVID-19. So what go round comes around, according to this person. So guys, let's hear your opinion. This militia, me, I'm hearing this for the first time. Okay, you have it in America too. Interesting. Leave your comment below and let's have your take on this. Thank you.